Episode number 345, Creating Killer Digital Content with Trey Van Camp. Let's do it.
This is the definitive podcast for helping you plan, create, and execute dynamic worship experiences at your church. Useful, practical content in the areas of production, worship, communications, first impressions, and more. This is Making Sunday Happen.
Hey guys, this week's episode of the podcast is brought to you by our friends at Philo Conference. Philo stands for First In, Last Out, and I've spoken and I've attended this event. It's really great, especially if you are a church tech or production lead, and you can bring your whole team as well. It's happening in Chicago on May 10th and 11th. I'll tell you more about it in just a minute. On this week's show, I'm talking with Trey Van Camp. Trey is a pastor, church planner, and YouTuber. He's the pastor at Passion Creek Church. If you follow Trey at all, he's had some really interesting news since him and I chatted for this interview today. He almost went to pastor another church, and God pulled him back, and Trey and his wife Jordan chronicled that journey in their latest YouTube videos that you should check out. Trey's channel is incredible, great content. You need to check it out. I'm going to be talking with Trey today about creating killer digital content for your platforms. Trey's been a vlogger for a long time. He has made hundreds of YouTube videos, and I want you to see how Trey creates content. So if you're a pastor, a tech leader, a communications director, I'm praying that Trey will give you some great tips for you today to think about. All right. This may mean that you take content from your worship experience and you cut it up in a unique way to use throughout the week. It may mean that your pastor can do videos using the same sermon content to go deeper with your congregation or to take that further during the week. So how can we make great digital content and get it out there for the world to see and hear about the greatest message of all time in Jesus Christ? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Hey guys, I am so looking forward to Philo 2022 happening May 10th and 11th in Chicago at Willow Creek Community Church. Up before the sun, finishing up after the band has left, that's part of what it means to be Philo. First in, last out. But you're not alone. The Philo community is made up of people just like you. And you're going to see that at the Philo event this year. You're going to hear from great speakers like Ashley Island, Todd Elliott, Clay Scroggins, and more. And our team will be there too. You can register today at philo.org. That's philo.org. philo.org. We'll see you there. Hey guys, today I welcome Trey Van Camp. Trey is a fourth-generation pastor. He planted Passion Creek Church in January of 2016. He's a pastor, church planner, YouTuber, vlogger. Trey, welcome, man. Thanks so much for being here.
Dude, I'm so grateful to be here. It's a privilege. I know we've been trying to make this work for a while. We're here. Yeah. We're doing this.
This is the moment.
Praise
right
the Lord.
Man, it is. It's going to be glorious. So I need first question off the bat: is it Van Camp or Van Camp? Is there a space? I'm so confused right now.
What's funny is I'm confused. So here's the quick story of it. So I'm actually, because of branding, I just made a video about this recently on my YouTube channel, but for years it's Trey Van Camp, 3 words, but there's been confusion. So some people think my last name's Camp, my middle name's Van, and they think I'm related to Jeremy Camp. Not true. Right. But the other thing is so many people over the years on YouTube said, hey, I looked up van life and I found you, but now I'm glad I found you, but it's not at all what I thought it would be. So I was like, so the algorithm has constantly thought you're a van camping channel, which may actually explain a lot of things of why the algorithm has never been too kind to me. So recently I put it all as one word and capitalized the C. The funny thing is my family, they all have always done Van Camp as one word. I'm the one who's passionate about it being 2 words. This is weird, and maybe it makes me not my family's child. We check birth certificates. Literally Mine is the only one that's one word, and everybody else in my family, Van Camp is 2 words. So I'm like, you know what? I'm rolling with it being one word. I just have to, literally, for the algorithm. If you join YouTube, the algorithm changes. It changes your identity, literally. So nice. That's where we're at.
How many times at airports or people, whatever, at Mr. Camp? Do you get that a lot?
Hotels, airports. Yes, all the time. Walmart. Thank you, Mr. Camp. I'm like, who? Yeah, definitely.
Right. It's stopped with security. You know. And
I have 2 first names, so it's even more of a mess, man. It's my first name's William Trey. The William is silent is the joke. So here I am. Wow. My name's a mess.
Nice. Well, we're here. We're finally, we got through that. So thank you. All right. Tell me about the church, man. You planted in 2016. Tell me a little bit about that journey. And then you kind of are a church planner, do that full time, and then blog and YouTube your journey as a church planner and other things, right? Tell me about it.
Yeah. So we started our church in 2016. It's crazy. We just celebrated 6 years. Especially in my area, the percentage of churches that make it past year 3 is about 50%. And then the churches who make it past year 5, it's about 75% of them don't make it.
Wow.
So we're an anomaly in our area. It's really, really hard to plant a church out here in the West. And so, actually I'm a 4th generation pastor and 2nd generation planter. So my father, I like to say I was raised normal. It wasn't until I was 12, my dad entered into the ministry. And then we immediately started with planning a church. And back in 2004, when that happened, there wasn't as many books as there are now. There weren't networks. Like, church planning wasn't really a thing. It was, but it's not nearly as popular as now. And so there's no resources. Anyways, my dad decided to, in March, hey, we're going to plant a church. And then in April we did. And so it was just my family. We put out free pancakes and church for Easter signs everywhere around the neighborhood. In fact, the neighborhood I'm living in now. And we started with 50 people, and the rest is history. So we planted a church, and when my family put us together, he said, my dad told us, I want each of you, this is a family plant. We're all going to be involved. And so I want you to pray and ask God what your spiritual gift is. And so I prayed every day, every night. Literally, if I forgot everything else, I asked God. God revealed to me my spiritual gift. And about exactly a year later, it was at a Discipleship Now conference. A pastor preached on 1 Kings 18, and the Lord clearly spoke to me to stand up in a generation who is too afraid to, for the name of Jesus. And so I recognized that and kind of interpreted that as a call to pastoral ministry. So since 13, I've known this is kind of the journey I would be on. And, but church planning is hard. So I quickly told God, I will do anything but plant a church. And so I have a journey of looking into revitalizations, a journey of wanting to be a missionary across the world. There was one summer where in high school, I had to sell my truck in order for us to eat that summer, because just church planning was really hitting a low. Our attendance was bad. Our budget wasn't there. And so I thought, I want something more stable. So I literally thought being a missionary was more stable than planning a church. And so, long story short, I went to college, did all that. And I recognized, oh my gosh, I had quite a few big opportunities, but I decided to pick the church planting one because I knew that's what the Lord was calling me to. So at the age of 23, I planted a church in a movie theater, and God has been so gracious. I still can't believe people allowed me to do that. And we're still alive and well. And the church, a lot of my priorities have shifted the past 6 years. The first 3 was all about success, more numbers. And now it's a lot more who are we becoming? How are we enjoying life with God together for others? And so God's really done a big work in my heart, and I'm grateful for it. And I pray that he never stops doing that. But in fact, what's fun is I planted my church January 2016, never heard of YouTube before. If you want me to talk about YouTube a little bit, I can right now.
Yeah.
Never heard of YouTube. I always thought, I heard of it, but I thought it was cat videos. I was I have zero desire. I'm somebody who prides himself in being productive. And so I used to not watch TV shows or anything. Now that I have kids, I need some sort of entertainment to hold on to at the end of the night. But I used to not do any of that stuff. And then I was actually on Facebook, and an ad popped up. This was October of 2016. An ad popped up of Gary Vee, of all people. I imagine you've heard of Gary Vee. If you're in the media world, you have. And I thought it was really interesting. It captured my attention. And so then I went to his YouTube channel, and the first video I saw was an interview with Casey Neistat. And I thought, who is this guy? So it's funny. I actually heard about Gary Vee first, which at that time only had about like 30,000 subscribers. Meanwhile, Casey Neistat had like 4 million at that time. And I fell in love with vlogging. I was like, this is amazing. Like, YouTube's awesome. This whole journey of telling your story and giving lessons along the way. I recognize like Casey Neistat's a preacher. He doesn't even know it. Like, he's shaping the minds of the upcoming generation. And I, for years, have made videos behind the camera because I'm missional. I know, like, I wanted to help my dad's church plant. And I'm like, we need to make videos. We need to make graphics. I learned how to make websites. So I knew all that, but also I had a lot of training in preaching. I mean, that's what I was doing and communicating. So I just blew me away that you can turn the camera towards you and start storytelling. So 1 month later, so October, I found out about it. November, I bought a camera and started uploading vlogs, and I've uploaded vlogs ever since for over 5 years now, which is insane. And yeah, God's been really good. So I have this journey of church planning and starting a channel are kind of around the same period. And there's been a lot of different iterations in my channel and in my church. And I've been documenting all of that on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I want to dive into some of that and some of the things that you've learned over the years, not just to tell your story, but also for pastors that can take it and use it if that's a method, if digital content is a method that they really want to get better in, which I've heard a lot of that, obviously, with everything going on. That's been a huge push, is to make sure your online presence is up and running. But let me ask you this to start. How do you feel as a vlogger, a consistent vlogger? How do you feel about online versus in person? Should online take over? Should it be a both and situation? What are your thoughts on that whole topic?
Yeah, a lot of people peg me wrong in that categorical fight. So when COVID happened, I was like, see, pastors, I've been telling you this for years to have an online presence. And so it was actually like the first month of COVID was fun for me because I got to teach a ton of pastors all of a sudden these lessons that I've been learning for up to 3 years up to that point. But I really believe in the local church and the embodied, embedded presence of Jesus. And so just doing ministry, I have proof, like I have data to show, like I have had a ministry on YouTube and it's blessed people and it's been an incredible ministry. But in person has been more effective. It has been an opportunity to be more vulnerable, an opportunity to truly love people and be present. You can't be present with people online like you can in person. So to me, it's a both and, like so many fights we have. It's like, what if we're both right? And so I certainly feel like online is the front door, of your ministry. I think it's also a way to minister to people. It's a way to like grow fruit on other people's trees is what I tell people a lot. In other words, like online, you're not just reaching your local city. You have no idea. Like people, like this morning, I looked it up. People in Malaysia were watching my videos. What that means is that's not going to help my local church at all, but I am helping expand the kingdom of God, which is incredible. I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, I got baptized at this church. And it was because, like, I just want you to know your videos kind of brought me to this church. Like, I love that stuff. So for me, it's totally both. And I also feel like it's really condemning to make fun of. I don't think they would claim making fun of, but to really put down kind of older pastors who are not doing stuff online. It's not what they grew up with. I pray that they empower other people in their church to be online, but I don't know. I know how hard it is to be a pastor, and I don't want to be one of those that heaps on guilt of saying, man, I can't believe you're not reaching this next generation with online. Should they? Yeah. But I think it's not, I don't think it could be a blanket statement. I think, man, there's some pastors, they're barely surviving right now. And the last thing they need to do is add this whole 20-hour a week job on them. So in a rough way, that's about how I answer that question. Yeah. I agree with you. I think when I'm out speaking and stuff, I get pegged with that too, which is interesting. You guys are media content creators. You're probably like 100% online, right? Like, no, I'm right. No, actually not. I'm actually probably
more reverse than that. I think it's a both and thing. So I can definitely be with you on that. All right. So if you had to start over again completely, what would you do different to start?
In my church or my channel?
Let's say online. Let's go the online direction for right now.
Oh, man. I think I don't think I would change anything because it's the only way I can learn, so here's the thing. In the beginning, I did stupid stuff. So in the beginning, I just made a video about anything. So one time I went to the lake, I would talk about me going to the lake. I would go to Atlanta. I would film my whole time going to Atlanta, which is fine. The reason I wouldn't change it is by just putting stuff out there, by just making stories. I learned through experience, which is how I need to learn what makes a story, what doesn't make a story, what's boring, what's not. And so I had to make a lot of boring videos in order to make captivating ones. And then also, for so many people, they never start because they wait till it's perfect. You'll never succeed on YouTube. You have to just go out there and do it. So the advice I give to pastors or Christians who are starting YouTube is radically different than the advice I give to people who've been on YouTube for a few years and have at least 100 uploads under their belt. So I think you just have to get to that 100 marker at least before you really start to truly analyze. And I think the biggest shift you have to eventually make is, who is my target audience and what do they expect from my channel? So that's been my struggle that I think I finally have figured out. But it's taken me a long time, because you'll also notice on YouTube, the people you want to watch you might not want to watch you, but the people you wouldn't expect to watch you love you. So that's been my process. I thought I started my channel for all the non-believers. I'm a Baptist. We're very Great Commission focused. It's all about reaching new people. And so I thought I'm not an apologetics guy, but I'll just be I'm the relatable guy. And I wound up encouraging a lot of Christian leaders and people who are thinkers and thought leaders. And so I've realized, okay, that's maybe my lane, because that's the people who reach out to me. That's the people who buy my courses. That's the people who are in my community. And so I've kind of gone all in on that. So it's really helpful to know who you are and who you're not. And YouTube has helped accelerate that, to understand my own leadership strengths by uploading all the time and seeing real-time data, what's working and what's not working.
How important is consistency?
So that's such a great question. Very important. What I'm grateful for, though, is when I started, 2017 is when I really got going. It was said, and it was true, the algorithm would bless people who uploaded every day. So daily vlogging was a thing. And I did that. I did a lot of daily vlogs. So I would, 4 months out of every year, I would say, okay, I'm doing one every day. So I started every day in March and then August and whatever. And that's stupid and it's pointless and it doesn't work anymore. So unless you're going live and talking about the news, which my boy Ruslan does, which actually I'm wearing his shirt right now. Ruslan, he has to be consistent every day, because he's talking about things that are happening in the culture today. And so he jumps on those topics. But if you want to make evergreen content, which is what I want to lean more into now, to where I make content that I made 2 years ago and people are still watching it today. That is so clutch. What I used to do is daily, which means the suspense was just what happened today. But in 2022, you're not going to care what I did in 2018, so it has a short shelf life. So being consistent is okay, uploading weekly, definitely monthly at least, unless you're some channels are incredible. Mr. Beast says he only uploads once a month, but he's Mr. Beast. So I think uploading at least weekly, just developing a appetite for your audience and making them always wanting to come back. That's key.
Yeah, I found that too with podcasting. So we're 330 something episodes in as of this recording. And so 2015, I think, is when we launched, something like that,
Nice.
Early 2015. I say that to say, the first ones were rough, And even though I have a background in radio, like I have experience in knowing how to do this, but it's still like, you got to get it out there and get going. And I think that I see so many podcasters, and you might see this in the vlog world too, that they do a few and then they drop off the planet.
Totally.
And I think the people that are in and have staying power have credibility. Mm-hmm. I think that there's an instant, I guess it's credibility. There's an instant credibility. Oh, you've done hundreds of vlogs.
I've made 700 vlogs.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Right. So, I mean, there's right. And so there's so much experience, credibility. They see your face everywhere. And it's not like with me, maybe you can relate to this. I have no fame is not like, I don't care if people know who I am. Right. But when I go to a conference, if I have a video blog, podcast, people can see my face, recognize me. The conversation immediately can kick off, and
the trust is different. Totally.
Yeah. Do you find that too?
Yes. And so that's one reason why I did it, was actually to help my church. Like, my motivation has always been two things: to bless my church and to bless my family. So part of my YouTube strategy has always been, how can I put more food on the table? So being a church planner, I've always been bivocational. And that's part of that's now by choice, because we do have enough money to pay me a good salary, but I'd rather have more people on my staff than just me. Mm-hmm. And so we spread the love there. And so I actually pour concrete with my dad 3 days a week. So that's a big part of my vlogs, typically. But also I have like a Patreon community that blesses me, that pays my mortgage every month. I have courses that kind of bring big blessings to my family financially. So that's big. But also, like, what's incredible is there's visitors who come to church and they just know me. They're like, I'm sorry, this is weird, but like, I already know you and I'm so excited to meet you. And it's not a celebrity thing at all. No. But it is like okay, good. So now when I preach in 10 minutes, like, you're going to actually trust me a little bit more. I don't need to like work so hard, because so much of it's like, who is this guy? If that's already done, now maybe the word can bless you sooner. So that's been a huge blessing for our church family.
Yeah, I find that too. All right. So how often do you post content now?
So I used to, when I looked back for 4 years, I uploaded at least 3 times a week, at least for 4 years, which is pretty insane. So what's happening in my life right now, some of it I'm not allowed to share. There's just a lot of changes happening in my life. And so there's some projects that are stewing. There's just some people reaching out to me. So I've recognized that I have a lot on my plate. And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to not be on YouTube until I get some of these projects done. And so, I'm not doing anything right now, which feels really weird. Sorry if I'm breathing heavy. I just got over COVID. So I feel like I'm still, but anyways, one of them is a book project. So I have a book that I'm writing. And I realized that, first of all, Sunday's always coming. So I'm always making a sermon. And then if I'm always making vlogs and videos, like, I have very little left to devote to a book. And so I realized I've done enough content. I don't have that itch to like have to upload every week. And so my priorities have kind of shifted in the last 6 months, but I know it's just for a season. And so I've actually, this next week, I just got a reservation at a cabin. So I'm going up there for 5 days and hopefully just finishing the first edition of the book and then sending it to my editor. So that's been really important to me. And for so long, I've been trying to do that back and forth game. And I've been reading this book called Deep Work by Cal Newport. And it just talks about just really laser focusing on one thing. And so that's what I'm trying to do. So normally I would say at least 2 to 3 times a week. Right now, it's nothing at all, which is pretty crazy. For me.
How do you, and this might be different in this season, but how do you come up with content? What if I'm a pastor? I'm like, I don't know if I have anything to say. Like, how do I come up with something all the time?
Yeah, it's a great question. People have asked me that a lot because, again, 700 videos is 700 different ideas. It's a lot of ideas. So it really depends on your style. So if you're going live, you can. So one strategy I've used in the past is, okay, so I preached a sermon on Sunday. In fact, let's just use last Sunday's example. I preached on Daniel chapter 3. So I know that there's only so much time I have because, people don't have long attention spans or whatever. So I do about 35 minutes where I'm talking about the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But let's say I have so much study and I have things that are exciting, but a wise preacher knows, okay, this is great, but it's not great for this. It's just too much, or, it goes away from the main idea. And so you just kind of leave it on the back burner. So a lot of pastors, we always have content that we never got to share on Sunday. Now, if you're not a wise pastor, you just share everything and you're like an hour-long sermon and you're not that good, right? Whatever. So what I like to do is then, let's just say Monday or Wednesday or Friday, I then go live and then I talk about, and I label it. So Daniel 3 can be summarized a lot about fear, syncretism, safetyism, stuff that we talked about. So I would kind of do the title and thumbnail about fear or seeking safety as the sacred value of life. Should it be that way? Whatever. And then I would just interact with people live, and then talk about these things that I didn't have time to talk about on Sunday. Now, I don't pitch it like that. I don't say, I didn't get to say this on Sunday. Every time I do this, I act like this is brand new content. I just felt like sharing, right? So I just talk about, go to Daniel 3 and I just talk about it. So that's an easy way to make content. It actually improves your communication and enables you to share stuff you weren't able to share that Sunday. I think that's big. Another one though is, so that's like going live. Another thing that I do is vlogging. So let's just say in the vlog, so I'm thinking, this is real time thinking right now. On Sunday, I had a phrase. I said, we adore Christian values, but we sadly ignore Christian virtues. So I talked about, like, in our culture today, we like to push the Christian value of one man, one woman marriage, but we need to push that through the virtues of gentleness and love and respect, right? So maybe I take a 1-minute clip of that message and then I preface it with just a day in the life. I talk about something about my wrestle between Christian values and virtues. I show the sermon clip, and then I kind of go through my life again. So it's like a 6-minute vlog. 1 minute of it was my sermon. The rest was context of my life, what I'm going through, making personal connections. Does that make sense? So yeah, I usually do that. So it's always something from Sunday, because that's what I'm spending my life thinking about. Mm-hmm. I'm studying hours upon hours every week. And so for me, it's like I have so much content and I'm bummed I could only share it through one medium on a Sunday. Can I also share it different ways? Can I repackage it? Can I make it a quote on Instagram, but also can I make it into a vlog and make it personal and empower people? So maybe the vlog was actually, that was my sermon clip, but most of the vlog is me showing you the process and me wrestling, trying to communicate that idea, whatever, right? So there's so many different ways, if you just use Sunday, to repackage it into a vlog or a live or like a 10-minute condensed version that you edit, Yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of ways to do it.
Man, there's so many things there I want to follow up with. I would say one thing that you hit on is something that I learned early on from Michael Hyatt. His platform book is to reuse one piece of content in as many ways. Maybe we're giving away the secret sauce here, but use one piece of content in as many ways as you can. Mm-hmm. So, pastor, or with me, let's say it's a workshop. Let's say it's a podcast episode or whatever it might be.
That's another one, a podcast conversation, with your associate pastors or whatever. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So take one piece of content. It's a blog, it's an email, it's a tweet, it's a Facebook post, it's a this, it's a book, it's an ebook, it's a da. Yeah. In the business world too, that's how many different revenue streams,
right?
Or ways that you can get it out there to point to a revenue stream. Mm-hmm. Not that it's just about money, but in the business world, these are, and I haven't found that nobody has come to me and said, you said the same thing on the podcast that you did the blog. It's the same thing.
So true.
No one has ever done that. And right. I think it's because people are so busy. They're not going to sit down and go and compare. And also people get their information different ways. That one person likes to get it from a blog. One person likes a video better. Anyway, that's my opinion. What do you think?
Absolutely. Actually, I wish that I've been more willing to repeat stuff through multiple videos, So if you look at the most successful people, they have 7 things that they just say all the time and they just apply it to new contexts. Right. And so I wish that, there's some stuff that I have that I say and I'm learning, I need to say this every week for my church. And I need to put this in my video a lot more often. So that whole trying to be super creative and innovative, the reality is nobody's watching all your videos. Mm-mm. your best fans will maybe watch every other, they're busy. Like, hopefully they're busy. Yeah. Hopefully they don't have enough time on their hands to watch everything you make. So yeah, right. That's a huge, like, wow, that actually helps with my content. Yeah. Because I can just repackage. And so, yeah, I mean, if I had a lot of money, which I don't, if I had all the money in the world, I would hire somebody to just do all that. Hey, I have this, make it into 18 different forms of content. Yep. Boom. I'll pay you every week to do that. That's huge.
Yep. So true. Another follow-up question I want to ask you is how long you were mentioning you take your sermon and the extra bits you put into a YouTube video. How long is the right length for YouTube videos if you're not live? Let's say it's an edited video. What's the right length?
That's a good distinction because live, you can go forever. Right. And, people just hop in as long as you have something to say. I don't believe, I kind of mentioned it earlier in the opposite way, but I believe my generation, we're hungry for more and we can take a lot in. And so I'm not the whole TED Talk guy. Like, I'm fine with the 45-minute sermon as long as it's killer and you still have attention and you do a good job. So really it is, I think Sean Cannell, he's a great friend. Do you know Sean Cannell?
I don't. I know.
You need to. Yeah. So on Think Media, he's a great Christian guy. But so he says, make it as short as you can and as long as you need to. So for every piece of content, it's like, hey, it's just those rules exactly. So you have to be really self-aware. Like, am I entertaining enough where I can pull off a 15-minute video? Or am I just really good at packing in the punches and giving you a lot of information quickly? My role is 5-minute videos. So in my history, I've been all over the map. There is a playlist that I have. Sometimes I say, okay, this is actually a really good exercise for me. My favorite number is 3. Trey kind of represents 3. I'm all about 3. So for a long time, I made 333 videos where I had vlogs that were 3 minutes and 33 seconds. I did that to learn how to quickly tell a story. It was kind of inspired.
Do you have a timer in front, knowing when? Or did you just know that you're going to edit it to that exactly?
So it's a vlog. So it's a ton of different angles and this and that. And then when I go to the edit, I have, so sometimes I do the first edit and it's 5 minutes. I go, okay, what 2 minute, what minute and a half do I need to just nix? So really helpful exercise. In fact, I think preachers, when they're beginning, should say 30 minutes, no more. I got to stick to it. And then if I'm good at that, then I can increase. So the 333 gave me a lot of editing hacks. It helped me see what is really necessary in a story. But it really depends on the content you make. So I know right now I'm into watching people going out into the ice freezing cold on frozen lakes and making igloos. Those are 30 minutes and it's silent. They're not talking, they're just doing it. This sounds so weird, but I'm really into it this week. I don't know. And so I actually want it to be 30 minutes long because it's therapeutic, and I'm learning stuff. I'm seeing how they're doing this thing, which I'm from Arizona. So I don't even know what a frozen lake is, which might be part of the interest. If you live, you're like, frozen lake, I never want to see that another day in my life. Me, I'm like, wow, what is this from another planet? So anyways, so it really is what is the genre that you're doing? So some people like David Dobrik, for example, he used to do 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Not a good example to follow of a person, but his content stuff. I've met him in New York City one time. Is really, really helpful. But Casey Neistat, his storytelling lately is about 8-minute long vlogs. But then you have people like Matt Diavella, they're 15 minutes. So it really does depend on the genre. It depends on your skill. I would make it more about what content am I creating? What value am I bringing? What transformation am I bringing the audience? And then that will help you answer all of the other questions.
You alluded to this earlier. Should all pastors be creating digital content?
I think the preference would be somebody in your church is helping you with that. As a church planner, I have to do a million things. And one of them is also digital ministry. And thankfully, it's my gifting, my skill set. I enjoy it. It's a hobby. But I know for a lot of people, it's not. And so I'm really sympathetic to that. I know that ministry is hard. I'm a 4th generation pastor, so I'm not ignorant to the hardness of life as a pastor. But I think it needs to be high in the priorities to empower somebody, especially if you're a multi-generational church that has younger people there. You have somebody who has those skills. And instead of saying, hey, you serve in kids ministry every week, you say, hey, you're serving the digital ministry every week. Help us make content. So I would say it's a high value. I don't think it has to all fall on the shoulders of the pastor.
Good. How much do you chase views and comments?
Always. No. There's a balance to that, right? So there's been times, and I talk about it on my videos, where I was like, oh, wow. So like I actually for a little while went live a lot because I recognize it's a great way to get more audience. And I would actually talk about cultural issues because I have, the educational background to be able to connect those dots. But it was like so lifeless for me. I didn't enjoy it. I hated the kind of comments I got. It was so
doing
much
the live
vitriol.
stuff.
Yeah, so much hate. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to be commenting on, I'm trying to think of an example, Kanye and Kardashian, and what does that mean for a biblical marriage? I'm not doing that anymore. So I think you have to know, what do you love? So for me, I've always treated this as a hobby. And so at the end of the day, if this is soul sucking, I'm not interested. And then your viewers will know that, like if you're making stuff you don't like, and they're going to be turned off by it. So, what was the question?
Views and comments.
How chasing after views. So some of my best videos, I actually have it unlisted now because it's just not who I am. And so I've had to recognize a lot of my content is more deeper than wider. Like I'm not attracting millions, but I'm making a good income off YouTube. So I've had to rewire what are my goals and values. And I have like legit relationships. Like I can get 75 pastors to fly to Phoenix this month if I wanted to for a conference. Like it's legit. Like we have a cool, awesome community across denominational lines. And I love that. So there's been times where I've chased views. I think it's smart. If you're confident about the value you are bringing, you need to be smart about how you package it. You've got to make a thumbnail that people want to click. You have to make a title where people are intrigued. You've got to build that tension. So I'm not going to make a video where I know nobody will click, but I'm not going to make a video where I know everybody will click. It has to be what video can I make that reaches my people that I want to bless. And so sometimes that does mean I would prefer artistically for this to be a 10-minute video, but practically a 6-minute video will do better. I'll make the 6-minute version.
Good. All right. So there's a lot of content we're not going to have time to cover, but I want to kind of give you an overview of it because you did a live, like an hour-long thing, walking through, I think it was, what was the guy's name?
Josh Spector. Everybody needs to check him out. I don't think he's a Christian. I don't know what he is, but Josh Spector. Yeah. Great
it was stuff. Some really good. In fact, I'm going to take a lot of it to heart myself. It was really gold. So kind of give me an overview of some of the things that you learned from him and how you're applying those things.
Yeah. Let me think about some of the stuff he said. One thing that he said that was really helpful for me, he goes, when you're making videos, you have to constantly think, first of all, I'm creating for someone, not everyone. So who is that someone? And that's the biggest part of the journey, because if you're creating for somebody who is more intellectual and can take on learning a lot, you're going to make longer videos. If you're trying to reach teenagers, you're probably going to make captivating, shorter form content, right? So you have to know who you're creating for, and you have to be okay to not make it for everybody. So that's a huge lesson that he talked about in that Twitter thread. He makes a bunch of stuff. So I check his Twitter every day because he's really helping everybody on content. Another thing that a lot of pastors run into that I remember that he talked about was self-promotion, and how if you truly believe that your content can change somebody's life, then you need to promote it. And so that's a huge reason why a lot of pastors don't jump online. They're like, oh, I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to make it about me. And it's like, well, if your heart's wrong and you're making it about yourself, then, fix that. But I think the Lord can rewire your heart and your affections. You stand on a pulpit every week. You need to stop doing that.
I was going to say the same thing, right?
Like you're obviously putting yourself out there in one medium. Why not another? And so if you have that issue, work that out with the Lord. Choose humility. And then when you realize humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less, you're thinking about your viewer and you're going to make content for them. So it's okay to self-promote. That's actually like what you need to do. Another one was like, when you're pitching your channel, like what's your value prop? Like, how will you bring people transformation? So if they don't know why coming to your channel or even your church, right, or anything, if they don't know what the promised transformation is, then why would they keep coming back and why would they subscribe? So not everybody has the same, even as Christian content creators, we don't have the same value prop. We don't have the same like exact transformation that happens when you encounter our channel. So you have to do a lot of soul searching. You have to do a lot of creating to figure out what is the thing that if you're around me, your life will be transformed in this way. And that's been really helpful for me.
Yeah. Good. Well, man, he had a lot of great stuff, and man, I could talk to you all day because I think a lot of this stuff is really good and will really help pastors. And I think one big takeaway is a lot of pastors can be timid because that's not me. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to edit. I don't want to self-promote myself. It just doesn't feel like. But I think that having an online presence, whether that is you or someone else from your church, I still think having an online presence is important. I think the both and is important. And so yeah, maybe that's freeing for some pastors that like, it doesn't have to be you. Right. Maybe you find somebody who's a great communicator for that medium. Or
don't be afraid to put in the work. Like do 6 months of watching YouTube videos on how to edit. It's like, at the end of the day, it's like, wow, like, didn't we, like when we signed up to serve people, we knew it would be a lot of sweat. And it would be a lot of frustration. So it really blows. There's always the biggest frustration I have is pastors reaching out to me saying, how do I do this without having to do this? You know, like, how do I do this, but I don't want to edit? It's like, then you don't do it.
It's like
it's all execution.
It's like,
yeah, exactly. So it's like, I can't, and they like blame it on like, figure out a way. I can't, it's just a lot of work. And I put in over 10 years of video editing now. So
when you were doing 3 a week, how many hours a week between shooting, editing, everything were you putting in?
So I don't know about the shooting. I actually never. So like some vloggers just shoot everything and then figure out a story after. I've always been more, here's the direction I want to take. I would rarely cut clips. Like I typically at the end of the day would go, oh man, I should have recorded a little bit more. So I'd always just keep everything real low. Mainly because I didn't afford, especially in the beginning, those SD cards that were like 264 gigabytes. So I was like, I got one SD card. I got 64 gigs. I ain't going to go over that limit. But editing, I would do about every edit an hour to an hour and a half, which is actually pretty quick for what most people kind of takes like 3 to 4 to 5 hours. I don't know why. I've learned a lot of shortcut keys. I already know the story before I start. There's just a couple hacks that I've figured out. It's about.
Are you using Premiere? What are you using? Give me your software.
Premiere Pro. Yeah. So I have the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite.
Yep. You pulling in After Effects and stuff like that too, or just Premiere?
No, I really love the Mogert titles. You know what I'm talking about? So like you can do a lot of After Effects looking things just in Premiere. I've always hated After Effects. So I've stayed away from it always.
We're reverse. I live in After Effects.
Funny. Oh, dude, you're a freak then. You're a genius.
I wouldn't say genius, but it's weird. It's weird.
It's strange.
I edit in After Effects. That's weird.
Whoa. Yeah. That is, man.
Yeah.
That's funny. I literally couldn't do that if you had a gun to my head. Like I have no idea how to do that. Sorry if that's a little vulgar, but I don't know how to do
headed to therapy after this. So
that's amazing.
All right. Will you play a little game with me before you leave?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Here's 5 questions with Trey Van Camp. All right. So this is it's going to be rapid fire. Okay. Rapid fire 5 questions. They're about you or some fun stuff. All right. You ready? Here we go.
I'm ready.
First question is out of nowhere. Here we go. What is the average cost of a brand new camper van?
That's amazing. $29,000.
No, get this. $110 to $200.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No wonder I don't do the van life.
I know. I thought that you would know this because I'm just kidding. All right. Number 2, name the Christian artist from these lyrics. Scattered words and empty thoughts. Do I need to go on? Seem to pour from my heart. I've never felt so torn before. Seems I don't know where to start, but now that's how I feel. Your grace falls like rain from every fingertip, washing away my pain.
I am a book reader and podcaster.
This is about you, Jeremy Camp. Incorrect.
I should have put these things together.
See, I think you're catching on now. All right, number 3. What is your secret talent? Is there some special skill that only a few people know about?
I'm such an open book. I tell everybody everything. A random stupid thing I do is I can, with my arms, people can't do this.
Show it. You got to show it.
Go in the opposite direction. Everybody eventually does this. I can keep them in opposite directions.
Wow.
It's harder than you think. Everybody at home, try it right now.
Yeah. It's impossible. There's no way. No, it's not even happening. All right. Number 4. What is the hardest thing that you've had to go through as a church planter?
Oh man, it's supposed to be quick. On a Friday, we were given a handshake that the building was going to be ours, 5 acres, playgrounds, everything we've ever wanted. Told the church on Sunday. Monday, they never showed up to the bank and they gave it to another church. So heartbreaking.
Are you serious?
And there's a vlog on it.
Oh,
yeah, it was very, very hard.
Man, well, how did it work out? Did it...
Still renting. We are still not okay.
Sorry. The times when you do not go for the follow-up, Barnhill. Stay away from the follow-up question.
No, that was before COVID, though. So we're like, well, at least we don't have a bill to pay during all this mess, you know? So that's the silver lining.
I guess so. All right. Number 5, last question. What character trait do you most admire in other pastors or communicators?
Just one?
Well, you can name a couple.
I love when they balance humility with authority. That's just so interesting to me. You're teachable, but yet you can be firm and really speak the truth. A book I'm loving right now is by Tim Elmore. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. It's called The 8 Paradoxes of Great Leadership. And so that's one of them. It talks about Bob Iger, how he's confident and yet, I forgot what his phrase was, but yet like really teachable. I love seeing that in other pastors.
That is good. That's good. That's good. All right, cool. All right. You did good, man. Thanks for playing.
Thank you. Sorry,
All
Jeremy
right.
Camp.
I know. Incorrect. All right. How can people get up with you? How can people follow your channel and everything that you're up to?
Yeah. The easiest way is just look up Trey Van Camp on YouTube, and then Trey Van Camp, like you're camping in a van, but not really, on Instagram. So those are the 2 biggest places. Actually, one more thing, because I'm into this. We didn't get to talk about it, but go to treyvancamp.com and sign up for my newsletter. So I send out 3 ideas every week to help people in their content creation, to help them in their pastoral leadership, kind of stuff like that. I did it, just as a quick tip, I did it because I'm making a book, and it's really important when you're writing books and making videos to have emails. So I don't want to just take people's emails. I want to give people value, but it's really important. So I don't want to be a victim to the algorithm. I finally learned the lesson to figure out some way to grab people's emails. And I'm doing that via a weekly Tribune. So here I stand. TreyVanCamp.com.
See what you did there.
I put Trey in everything. So my vlogs are called Documentaries. My Q&As are called Q&Trays. And might as well throw that in the weekly Tribune. Thank you for noticing.
Very, very clever. Very clever. Man, thank you so much. I could talk to you all day. Appreciate the time, buddy.
Absolutely. Grace and peace.
When creating and presenting worship slides, never use repeat language or hymnal directions. If you sing one line repeatedly, it should be on one slide, and the one slide should be duplicated in your presentation software. Don't put directions like repeat 3 times or sing chorus again, men only this verse, nothing like that. Just lyrics.
The show notes for this episode are available now at makingsundayhappen.com.
Hey guys, if you like the content on our podcast, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search 1230 Media or Making Sunday Happen on YouTube to find us so you never miss an episode. Next week, I will welcome a big one, evangelist Nick Hall. Nick is an incredible speaker, evangelist, preacher. He was mentored and influenced by Billy Graham, Greg Laurie, and others. Nick is the founder of the Pulse movement, and their big event, Together 22, is happening in just a few months, June 24th and 25th at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Some really big significance on those dates and that location that we'll talk about next week. Nick has preached the gospel at hundreds of events to more than 5 million people and is regularly featured as a speaker for pastors' gatherings and events around the world. I'm going to be talking with Nick about how to reach the next generation. Nick and his team is reaching young people all over the world with these events. So we'll be talking about how can we craft our worship experiences to reach a younger generation. How do we reach those millennials and more? What do we need to stop doing? What is a big turnoff to younger people? What can we see happen in the church today? Where's the movement going? One of my favorite recent interviews of late, extremely powerful. We'll talk all about that with Nick Hall next week. We'll go out there and create some incredible worship experiences this weekend. I'll catch you next week.
Making Sunday Happen is a production of the ministry of 1230 Media. For show notes, archive episodes, and more free resources for your church, visit MakingSundayHappen.com.